Today we are making spinach artichoke cashew dip. Now this recipe is from the Simple Veganista. I found this recipe on Pinterest years ago and it has been a staple favorite for us. We've made it probably a dozen times now and it never fails to hit the spot. It's a really creamy, thick, hearty dip. So it's a really great addition to any meal where you really want to feel full and satisfied. The cashews make it so creamy and the nutritional yeast gives it that cheesy flavor that you're really hoping for from what you remember from a real spinach artichoke dip. When I went vegan, the hardest thing for me to give up was cheese. I loved cheese pizza, I loved spinach artichoke dip, and just cheesy bread, all the cheesy things. I mean, what's not to love, right? So whenever we find a really great vegan alternative to one of our favorite cheesy dishes, it always hits the spot and it makes me so happy. The ingredients needed for this recipe are pretty easy to come by. You can choose any plant-based milk of your choice, just make sure it's unflavored and unsweetened. And nutritional yeast, of course, for that cheesy flavor. And we prefer to use fresh spinach, although you can use frozen as well. And of course, fresh garlic is a non-negotiable if you ask me. You'll want to go ahead and soak your cashews for 2 to 3 hours. The longer the better if you're someone with a sensitive stomach or if you have any digestive issues. The next step is to set up your spinach steaming. Our process is to take a pot and fill it with a little bit of water, crinkle up 3 balls of aluminum foil and use those to sort of hold a small plate up and above the water, and then from there we can fill the plate with all of our fresh spinach, which we will then place over medium to high heat and cover with a lid so that it can steam up really nice and bring the spinach to a nice wilt. While we give the spinach time to steam, we'll go ahead and prepare the delicious creamy cheese sauce. So we'll pour our drained cashews into your blender along with the minced garlic cloves. Next, you'll take 1 lemon and slice it up. Make sure to squeeze all of the good juice out of there and add it to the blender, followed by the delicious nutritional yeast. Now with the nutritional yeast, this recipe does give you some freedom, so if you want a little bit more, add a couple more tablespoons. If you want a little less, go light on it. It's really up to your preference. And then we went with a cashew plant-based milk because we figured what could go better with cashews than more cashews. Although we have tried this recipe with almond milk as well, and that worked just as good. And of course, add some salt and pepper, again, really to your preference if you like more or less. And then go ahead and blend that up until it really breaks down to that nice, smooth, creamy consistency. We definitely have to stop and test it out a few different times because at first it will get to a bit of a gritty consistency and you'll want to blend it a few extra minutes to blend it down to that really smooth, creamy texture that you're going for with the cheese sauce. The next step is to drain all of your artichoke hearts out of their brine. Don't forget to preheat the oven to 400 degrees. And we'll check on our spinach and continue to add more because it will take a few times around to wilt all of the spinach. it wilts down super, super small. It's honestly kind of crazy how small the spinach shrinks down to after you give it a good steam. So don't be alarmed if it seems like you're putting way too much spinach in at first, because there won't be much left once it has seen the steam. Now here we only went with 10 ounces of spinach, although the recipe does call for 20. So again, up to you on personal preference with that. How much spinach do you like? Then we chop down the artichoke hearts into a much finer size. We like to have it kind of diced up really small so it's easy for dipping and scooping with our bread that we like to use. Now we're going to flatten out all of the diced artichoke hearts and the wilted spinach and just really mix it up in the bottom of your glass pan. And finally, you'll take that delicious creamy cashew sauce and pour it over all of the ingredients and mix that up really nicely before covering it with a aluminum foil and popping it in the oven for 10 minutes. Then you're going to uncover it. We like to add additional cheese at that point. This time we did follow your heart mozzarella cheese, and then you'll place that back in the oven for 10 more minutes, this time uncovered. Now for dipping, we like to get a little baguette and slice those up nice and thinly, and then we will place them over a baking sheet and drizzle extra virgin olive oil over them. It gives them a nice little buttery flavor and a delicious crunch. We heat that up in the oven for about 10 minutes or so, and then by then your cashew dip will also be ready. Gotta enjoy a nice close-up look at all the cheesy goodness. Okay, it's time for the moment of truth. You put all this work in, and now it's time to find out, was it worth it?
Steamy, smell it.
Yes, so the cheese melted on it just perfectly, and it looks delicious.
That's what I'm talking about.
Rate it.
Well, I give it a 10. I love this dip personally. It brings me back to my childhood.
It's creamy. It's gooey.
Gooey.
It has that cheesy flavor.
But also that cashew flavor, but like in a cheesy way.
And the bread is toasted just right in the oven, so it's nice and crunchy, and it lends just perfectly. That's my bite.
That's good stuff.
I could just keep digging right into this pan right now.
And it saves pretty well for a couple days, as long as you Tupperware it. And it has the same great flavor every time you heat it back up. I personally like to heat stuff back up in the oven, but you can microwave it just as well.
But the oven just gives it that extra
Nice.
fresh touch. Super cheesy, super creamy cashew spinach artichoke dip. Dairy free and vegan.
And delicious guaranteed.
Cheers. Oh.
Wait, we're gonna cheers.
I'm cooling it down.
Okay.
Cheers.